Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast, inside the business, buzz, and brilliance of Black entrepreneurs. Here is your host, Dr. Frances Richards.
Thank you for joining us for Black Entrepreneur Experience. This is where we shine the light on the most successful Black entrepreneurs in the world. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards, and I am so humbly honored to have with us Terra Winston, founder of Interact Consulting, and she is known as a leadership consultant and an executive coach. Terra, I have given a very brief snippet about your bio. Why don't you share with our audience what you would like them to know about you and your company?
Sure. First of all, I'm so excited to be here and be with you. I'm so passionate about this entrepreneurship journey and the fact that we need so many more of our African and African-American counterparts to be in this game. So thank you for having me.
Thank you.
I think the only other thing that I would want you to know is I am a reformed engineer turned MBA turned passion player. I realized that what I loved was helping people reach their highest potential. And so I created a business that allows me to do that. And the reason I bring that up is that there may be someone sitting listening to this that thinks that their background is irrelevant, or they wake up one day and they realize that they're not living the life that they wanted to live. And I want them to know that it takes nothing but a little bit of a dream and a lot of bit of work, and you can be living it.
So tell us about, you had said you were an entrepreneur, MBA. Tell us about this journey. How did you decide this was the business for you, and what was that aha moment that you knew it was going to be successful? And when you tell us about this, Terra, how did your engineering degree and your MBA, did they play a role at all in reference to you coming to this aha moment?
I wish I could be one of those people that would say that, oh, I was born and I knew what I wanted to be. And that's just not the case. I never thought I'd start a business, but I got to the point I was working in corporate America, doing very well, and I realized I had lost the passion for the work. I looked up on the org chart, what jobs I want next, what's after that, and I realized that as much as I liked the titles and the money, let's be honest, I didn't want anybody's job. There wasn't a single job in the food chain that made me excited about the late nights and the long hours and all the hassle that comes with any job that you have. And I said, okay, something needs to change. Shouldn't I want some of this? And I had to sit back with myself and say, what is it that I love to do? What are the things that I've done in my life that make me light up? And I realized this is my list, I love to coach, I love to facilitate, I love to speak. And I said, well, where can I do those things? And it made sense to start my own business. And so I kind of, despite going to business school at the hub of entrepreneurship, I wasn't one of those people that just said, yes, I've got to start my own business. And I came to it because I wanted to do what I loved, and I wanted to do it on my own terms. Your question about how does the engineering degree and the MBA play into it, what I will tell everyone that works with me is that all of who you are perfectly sets you up to be all of that you're going to be. So now, even though I'm in what people say a fairly soft science, right? I'm in coaching and leadership. As an engineer, I understand how to break down a problem. I understand that I'm not intimidated by things that are more technical or more analytical. I can connect with a leader who is highly analytical or highly technical because I get how they think and the things that they are held accountable for. And same thing with my MBA. I need to understand how strategy is designed and how it's executed in order for me to be the best coach for these executives that I'm coaching, or for me to stand up with credibility in front of some of these audiences I speak to. Even though there's probably not a single thing in my current job description that says must have MBA or must be an engineer, it is in everything that I do. It is in my DNA.
And you know, Terra, it's really interesting that you would say this. This is going to be kind of a plug for STEM, for any parent that's out there, any entrepreneur that's out there in reference to the direction that they need to really encourage our children to go in, which is science, engineering, math, and they've even included like STEAM, the arts. But we're talking about more the science, math, and engineering. And I interviewed another young lady, Kia Binyan. Her company is SoCo Sweets, and she calls herself the pastry engineer. And she came from engineering also into pastry and baking. I started out many years ago in college in engineering, and I ended up switching to broadcasting. That's a whole long story. But the plug is about when you major in engineering, no matter what you get that degree, it can translate and take you down so many other roads opposed to getting that liberal arts degree. And I just really want to encourage more people to get into STEM. If you are looking at what direction should you send your children, encourage them in the math or science, engineering, because they can pretty much write their own ticket once they get that skill set.
I completely agree. And in fact, you're probably like I am, we're strong in the STEM side of our brains, but also have robust side of ourselves that like the arts, that like writing, that like all these things. Those two sides working at full capacity, game changer, right? So if you feel like you're going to be the only math major or only engineer that also loves to read or to sing or to paint, please know that that puts you in such a category that you can do anything. So don't be scared of it. It's just another expression.
Absolutely. So Terra, how do you define success? What does that look like for you, and how long did it take to manifest in your life?
Wow, that's a big question. I am very, very adamant for clients that they define success on their own terms, but surprisingly, it took me a while to really come to grips with it. What I finally recognized that for me, success was number one, freedom. One of the big reasons that I started this business was to have some autonomy for myself. But am I able to make an impact in people's lives and then still live my life with curiosity, creativity, and connection? And when those things are happening, then I know that I'm winning. Now, sometimes the money isn't where I want it to be because entrepreneurship has these financial ups and downs. And if you don't believe that, then you need to hear me now. Sometimes I don't have as much freedom because I'm working towards a deadline. But in balance, am I able to make this impact and live in the spirit of the way I want to live? And when I don't feel that I'm doing that, I know it's time to make adjustments.
Tell us about, Terra, when you made that decision to transition from corporate America to your own business. What was that time span? And tell us about, was it an easy journey, an easy decision to make? And how did you go about saying, this is it, and I know I need to do this?
It was definitely not easy. Remember, I started thinking I was going to be someone that climbed the corporate ladder, got bigger and bigger offices, and retired with a lovely gold watch and stock options. So to get to this point where I felt like, wow, I don't want to do this thing. I don't know what I want to do. My first reaction was, well, let me get a new job. Please, 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 I do not recommend this to anyone. I started interviewing, and at the time it was in a recession. It was 2008. And I was blessed to be given new job opportunities. People kept giving me jobs. And then I would decline them because I still didn't want to do the work. And it was because I was scared. I wasn't listening to the part of me that told me that another job wasn't the answer. I knew it wasn't. Hopefully, if you feel like that you are this way, I want to give you some hope that you can get out of this. But some of us are locked in fear of the unknown. And so what I ended up having to tell myself was, look, don't keep burning your bridges by getting job offers and turning them down. And so finally, I sat with myself, and this is going to sound crazy. I quit without knowing what I was going to do. I was so stressed and concerned and confused about my next step that I just decided I needed some space. So I quit. And then I made the decision to start the business. My entire family thought I was crazy, but I am not crazy. I knew that I needed to quit, and I actually took time. So there was probably a space of about 4 months from when I realized I was going to quit to when I actually did. And I used that time to save money. I used that time to make some general plans, and I waited out for my bonus payment because that was on the calendar so that I could leave in a space that made sense to me. And what I did was I looked at my bank account and I drew a line in my bank account And I told myself when the number got below that line, that was when I had to start looking for another job. That was a way for me to be responsible, but also not have that nagging question every day of every week. Oh my God, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? So to stave off the panic, that's what I did. And then I made the decision to start a business. Please don't do what I did though. Please, I would highly recommend, if you know the business is what you want to do, spend time in your corporate gig, do the side hustle, get your money and get your systems and structures together, and then leave. But I was one of those few people that I was so lost. I needed that space.
So tell us, Terra, what is a daily or weekly habit that you do consistently that has given you the greatest success?
Once a week, I meet with my virtual assistant. And it is probably one of the best things that I ever did. So many of us that get started, we don't have necessarily a lot of money, and we think we have to do it all alone. Help is there and it's ready, and it's getting more and more affordable. And so when I started working with a virtual assistant, just 1 hour a week gets us on the same page. We know what needs to get done. I can start to delegate, and that frees me up to do the kind of work that only I can do in the business. And that 1 hour saved me hours and hours of time. It has saved me missed deadlines. It has saved me money on things that she could get ahead of or get discounts on. It is so well worth it.
So share with us about your virtual assistants. Did you contract that out in the States, or did you go abroad to find your virtual assistant?
I have one in the States because of the nature of my business, where I often am and standing in front of clients, presenting or things like that. I wanted someone that I had the option of upping my engagement with. And so not only did I choose someone in the States, I actually chose someone that was in a drivable distance from me. Now, not everyone needs to worry about that. It all depends on the structure of business and how you might want to use them. But what I realized is I could have her come out to a meeting and she could help me facilitate and manage the notes. And from a consulting perspective, I can build that cost into my client if I needed to. And so I made that choice, and I took recommendations and referrals. I know lots of people, though, who do very well with having virtual assistants outside the country or in other states a bit more distant. I think the key is to spend some time really understanding what the list of things on your plate is and where you can reasonably delegate. So things that are super easy are things like travel and some calendar management, depending on what your work is. And at the same time, you may have some things that are a bit more specialized and you may want different people. I also highly encourage anyone to start with automation and then go to a virtual assistant. So my assistant was great because she actually helped me set up some of the automation in my business. Very easy things like what you have, online scheduling apps and things like that. But there are lots of other tools that can take away some of the need of what you may normally pay your assistant to do. And that way you can manage how much trust you have to give, because the virtual assistant does require trust, and also what the financial commitment is.
You were talking about automation. So let's talk about what is a technology tool or platform that is a must-have for you in managing your business day to day.
Oh, so very many. Because I have corporate clients, I've got people that book me for speaking, I wanted to invest very specifically in a very robust CRM system, a customer relationship management system. I ponied up money for Infusionsoft. And there are lots of other options out there, but what I liked about Infusionsoft was that it allows me to categorize my contacts the way that I need to, right? And I realized that in a complex business where my business is both B2B and B2C, I needed to be able to identify and categorize people the right way so that I could send them the right information. I could have reports that were useful. And Infusionsoft allowed me to have the automation built on as well. So that for me is a really strong backbone of my business. I also love Trillo. Trello is, it's almost like having your own bulletin board with little Post-it notes, only you have it in your pocket. And so I have boards set up where I can put activities or items that need to be categorized and easily moved around to match the way that I'm thinking about something. So instead of maybe using mind mapping software or other things to help me get all this craziness out of my head and into a workable form, Trello is something that works very well. And I use the free version. I don't even pay for it.
Oh, well, I experience, and Trillo is a wonderful platform. And I actually, one of the young ladies that I had contracted out to do some work for me, she introduced me to Trillo, and it was a great tool for us to connect with one another and for her to manage the project, but for me to see where she was at in the project, the timeline. It just made the process very, very smooth. If I had any questions or she needed additional information, she could just post it on Trello and we were on the same page, and you could go back and see the comments that were made. Whoever designed that platform, it is an amazing software. So you're right.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
So Terra, tell us, what is one valuable lesson you wish you knew before starting your business?
Wow, how much time do you have? We could do this all day. Probably the biggest lesson is that there is no one right answer. For those of us who like to do research, I can blame this on my engineering degree or something else, but there are times that I would go online and read all the books and see what all the experts say to get the one right answer for whatever I'm trying to do. And when you get into the entrepreneurship space, there isn't one. There are things that people have tried. There are best practices. And then there's just a lot of gray area where you have to trust your own instincts, make decisions, and move forward. And if you're not confident in doing that, it's very easy to waste time trying to get another opinion. And every new opinion will take you down a little bit different path. So you have to learn to really trust your instincts, trust your own research, and then to some extent jump and feel confident that whatever happens next, you can deal with.
And Terra, that is really some great, profound advice. And the reason I say that, because when you are in that entrepreneurial space or you're wanting to leap or launch, and you get into analysis paralysis, and you're walking in that area of fear, and you're wondering, is this the right decision? Or you're just like, that person knows the answer, that person knows the answer, and you don't move forward because you're thinking that everyone else is smarter than you are. And I like that you really should trust your own instinct and just go on and take the leap, take the launch. That is what entrepreneurship is about. It is about taking risk. And I think that sometimes we hold back in reference to really taking risk. And when you think of when we were young, as this child growing up, it was no limits, no boundaries. No was not an option. That just made us speed ahead faster if someone said no to us. And that's what we have to do in reference to igniting and sparking that fire within us in reference to getting more entrepreneurs in our community that looks like us.
Exactly. There's an element of self-confidence that an entrepreneur has to develop. I'm not saying that you're born with it or you can walk into it with it. And it's not that you're going to have all the answers. Instead, it's a voice inside you that tells you you can figure it out from wherever you are. So if you make a mistake, okay, we can figure this out. We can figure our way through this. If you run into an issue, so it's less about having some crazy, perfect vision and you never make a mistake. That doesn't even happen to anybody. More so by recognizing, I can do this, and taking whatever comes to you and moving it forward.
So you talked about voices. Terra, talk to a younger you. What advice would you give to a younger Terra?
Invest in Apple. Beyond stock tips, it would be start now. I don't care where your now is. Start now. There's so many excuses that we make about why we haven't started. I don't know enough. I don't know enough people. I don't have enough money. But to some extent, success is a lot like investing, where you get compound interest. And you can be young and dumb and start back then and make the mistakes and learn from those mistakes and build on those mistakes. And where you will be by the time you are my age will be so much further. So start now. Your ultimate business may not be the same that you started back then, but that's okay. Just start.
Absolutely. So, who are your top two influencers in your life, and what lessons do they teach you?
No one gets to laugh at me when I say this, but I have to admit that my two biggest influencers are actually still my parents, my mother and my father. Now, neither one of them probably could operate half of the apps on my computer. So they are not my technology influencers, and they're not these big names on podcasts or standing in front of conferences, but they taught some really fundamental things. So my father, his was around resilience and persistence. And he used to always say that if someone has done it, that means it can be done. And he was okay if he had to do it his way, if it took longer for him to do it his way, but he was always very confident he could figure it out. And so that piece for me not only gave me a sense of bear down, we can do this, but to not be frustrated if it didn't go my way the first time. Whereas my mother was very much around excellence. And you should hear my dad tell stories of how she used to drill my sister and I with flashcards. And I think I still have PTSD flashbacks of some of the things that she did, but she always raised the bar for me and my sister around when we step off the floor. It's not about what other people expect. It's about what our own level of excellence is. And so when you put those two pieces together, when I run my business, when I connect my clients, and the value that I add to them comes a lot from that foundation that I received. And there are a lot of great kind of current leaders that I listen to, that I follow, that I believe in, but I'm always able to see through the humanity and know that some of what they're selling is them selling themselves. But my two core influencers, my parents, I know that that message is pure and well received and continues to serve me daily.
So take us on the journey when you talk about your parents as your influencers, which is wonderful. And believe it or not, I would say on the podcast that I've done to date, 80% will say their parents. So that is wonderful. And so your influencers are your influencers, and it doesn't matter. And I'm so glad that you're being authentically you. At the top of the podcast, you had mentioned, Terra, that your family, your possible sphere of influence and friends thought that you were crazy in reference to jumping from this wonderful corporate job to your business. Talk about the story, or how did that unfold with your two influencers? How did that happen, and what was the result, and when did they say, okay, Terra, we know that you got this, we're not worried about you? And yeah, just take us on that journey.
I'm so glad you asked that, because I know that I'm not the only one that has dealt with or even will deal with this challenge, because we have parents that work very hard for us to be safe and stable. And they spend their entire lives, they sacrifice for us to be safe and stable. We finally get to a place where they can exhale. Ooh, yeah, she is safe and stable. And I upset the apple cart. I remember I had to prepare myself to tell them what I was going to do. I'm going to quit this job and I don't know what's next. And then the subsequent conversation, I'm going to start this business. I did it over the phone, number one, and I could hear the silence. There was a moment of just them processing what I said, and everything in my heart just dropped. Oh, these wonderful people who have sacrificed so much for me, I've now disappointed them. And that was a hard kind of, but then I sat with them, and my mother will tell you right now that she didn't appreciate my speech, but I sat with myself and I said, look, Mom, Dad, this is your fault. And which, of course, no parent ever wants to hear. When I told them this was the culmination of all of their dreams come true, they worked so hard. They pushed me for education. I got education in some of the best schools in the country. They gave me independence. They pushed for me to believe in myself, for me to be a learner. And what all of that led to was me understanding my value and having confidence in the vision that I could set for myself. Congratulations, you got everything you wanted, and it's scary. But trust me, I have this. And so they said, okay, I'm pretty convinced that there was a lot of sleepless nights. Probably for the first 3 months, would call me and say, well, what did you do today? I met with people and I networked, and they say, what did you do? That probably lasted the first 3 to 6 months. Now, fast forward, after I'd been operating my business for about 6 years, I just in passing mentioned to my mother that one of my clients had offered me a job. And as any of the entrepreneurs on this call know, if you're a client service, it happens all the time that your satisfied clients would love to bring you in-house. And I mean, it's a huge honor, but not necessarily if you're not considering working full-time, then you say thank you and keep moving. I wasn't considering taking the job, but I mentioned it to my mother, and she got so indignant. Don't they know you have a business? You have clients. You can't just be running off taking a job somewhere. And I said, crazy woman, are you not the same person that almost lost sleep over me quitting a job? If you're worried about what your family may say or the people who love you, some of their resistance is only because they love you and they fear for the uncertainty. And the minute that you're able to show them that there's some stability, then they want everything that you want. I still tease them because now they act as if business was something that they always understood and believed in. But it's funny.
So what keeps you going, Terra?
Well, I get to cheat a little bit. My business is about making people better. I help individuals, teams, and companies achieve what matters most. And so I get a chance to sit in front of an audience and watch someone's eyes light up when they have something that helps them. I get to work one-on-one with my coaching clients, and there's a moment of breakthrough. And sometimes that breakthrough is tears, and sometimes it's smiles. I can feel the moment when something shifts in their world that will help them achieve a higher potential than what they had yesterday. I can watch a team that's struggling and get to the end of a facilitation and have them come to alignment. I get those little pieces of joy throughout the work that I do, and that's what keeps me going, even when it's hard.
And what is your end game?
Private island now.
Love it.
I love ideas, and so I would love to not only have myself working with clients, but also I would love to build an organization that allowed ideas and people to flourish. So looking at ways to address some of the social ills that affect our community and our world, looking at ways to how do we influence policy and systematic issues that keep people from achieving their best potential. I want to do my business and I want to keep having my clients, but I want to create a business that allows other people to also support their clients and make really big impacts in this world. I'm in the lab designing what that looks like, and it's kind of exciting.
So you talked about at the top of the hour about the whole goal, and that is really what Black Entrepreneur Experience is about, is shining the light on the most successful Black entrepreneurs in the world, but it's also to get us to do business with one another and to spark that passion within others, because I think that we need to see more Black entrepreneurs, whether that's African American, Black, anyone from the African diasporas. We're just calling them Black entrepreneurs for the sake of this particular podcast. So, Terra, what do you see your role or responsibility to increase the numbers of Black entrepreneurs in your community, in the world? What do you feel that you can do as an individual and or your company?
Your first question, what is my role and my responsibility? I take that very, very seriously. I expand that. For me, even the coaching that I do in companies is around helping people who are marginalized or people who don't traditionally have all the same opportunities. I help them bridge that gap to get the success and achieve what they deserve. For me, it's across the board entrepreneurs and also people who are in jobs. Specifically speaking to entrepreneurs, though, there's a couple of things that I do. I actually make sure that I'm looking at the total diversity of the resources that I use and that I consume. Every business in and of itself is its own economy, right? There are people that you pay. I've got copywriters that write some of the copy on my website. I've got a virtual assistant. I've got marketing consultants that work with me. I've got an IT guy that I also work with. I've got people that I partner with, and we go to market and we sell together because we have complementary products. I look at the diversity of those groups to make sure that I've got balance and I'm not just relying on people that I always done or people that I always know. So that's my personal responsibility. I vote my conscience with my pocketbook. Now, beyond that, I'm always looking at kind of where, in particular, our community is missing out on some of the key messages. When I got to business school and really studied the children and the relatives of some of the most powerful people in the world, there were things that opened my eyes that my first and second generation college friends and family, things we didn't know. And it frustrated me. And so I'm a big believer in mentorship and sponsorship and helping to pass on the unwritten rules of business success, of entrepreneurship to our peers and also to the younger generation. And so there's things that I do informally around that. Between my own, how I spend my own money and the way that I spend my time, that's part of my contribution, but I'm always looking for new and better ways. And that's why I love what that you're doing with this podcast, because we so desperately need things like this. I don't know if you're familiar with the empowerment experiments that was done. I've got friends here that spent a whole year trying to buy Black. And out of that effort, now they're doing more to create directories and connect and promote businesses. And so I spend time paying attention to some of those efforts to see what we can do around that.
And I agree with you, Terra. As I've been coning the website, the internet, in reference to finding and the most successful African American businesses throughout the world, I have noticed that a lot of, I don't want to say pop-ups, but a lot of directories are coming up and different initiatives around buying Black. And it's so true. The only way that we are going to stimulate the economy and to empower ourselves economically, we have to get back to Black Wall Street, like what they did in Oklahoma. And we have to replicate that in many cities and many states and many countries in order for us as a people to, it's not about separation, it's about including us in the dialogue. It's about having that business entrepreneurial mindset. And we have it, we just have to ignite it. And we can't depend on others to make what we need to make happen in our own community, whether that's education, finance, capital, whatever it is, we have to do it for ourselves. We can't rely on a system or a process that is going to look out for us. We have to look out for each other. So I agree with you 100%.
For me, I'm very, very passionate about, and we have to continue to educate ourselves in terms of the fundamentals of business. There's so many mom and pop stores that they work so hard every day, and with a little bit of love and guidance, some mentorship, to find ways to improve operations, to create co-ops that allow them to buy better. I think that what I would love to see is more work so that the businesses that exist can work smarter, not harder, right, and then really unleash the profitability and their ability to provide jobs in our communities and all that kind of stuff. And I do believe that one of the challenges that we sometimes have is that we have so much sweat equity in these businesses that no one has time or the opportunity to get some of the nudges that a little bit more education around some of the way businesses work, or technology, or those capital infusions, like you said, that really could unleash so much of this potential.
And you know, Terra, it was really interesting. I was talking to a mother of a very young entrepreneur. I think she's 13 years old, and she's doing very well. She will close out this year at $100,000. And I was chatting with her mother, and her mom was telling me the story about how her daughter is extremely successful and the mother is still working a 9 to 5. And she indicated that she knew that her daughter could be doing more in terms of monetizing her business. And I was not in the position to say, I can help you monetize, or put her in the direction to say, this person can help you do what you need to get done, because her platform is really online and it's so much minutia out there. And I think that what you were saying about the ma and pa, just within our community, access to information and access to capital is not so readily available. Like the internet is full of information, and yes, it's given us a gateway to a lot more information, but it's also giving you a floodgate of information that you don't know whether it's good or whether it's bad. And so when you have to vet that information, what happens is you get very frustrated. It's not about me, but if I told you the journey that I've done for my entrepreneurial path, I have a very funny story where my friends are just like, you are working way too hard. And so they don't understand that I understand that it's more. And even though I'm a boomer and I'm seeing these millenniums that I am so impressed with, how they're making things happen, they're being socially conscious in the decisions that they're making, the business that they're building. But you're so right. We have to pull together our resources, but we have to find resources that are legitimate and people that are not going to take advantage of you, because that has happened to me, but it hasn't stopped me. But someone who's starting in this journey and you keep getting bad news after bad news, it can really set you back. And so I believe that together we will build a community of Black entrepreneurs that will give reliable resources and that will be a hub, just like a startup community for businesses.
Most definitely. And one last point about this for anybody, Frances, just like you, thank you for sharing your story, because I think people need to hear it. There are not a lot of places that you get to hear truth, particularly about the entrepreneurship journey. If you listen to podcasts, if you read the blogs, if you go and every speaker on a big stage will tell you about how they failed and how they bounce right back. What they don't give you is the nuts and bolts and the times that they did work with unscrupulous people, the number of people who partnered with someone and then had to break up partnerships, which is worse than a divorce sometimes, right? Those motions and those movements and knowing who to trust, that stuff is so hard. So if you're out there and you're figuring this out by yourself and you're starting to feel discouraged because you feel like it's harder than you ever expected, you don't have anyone to turn to, like, don't give up, because all those people tell all those stories, they don't always give you the full truth. And that's why I believe that mentorship is so important, particularly on the entrepreneur journey, because it's helpful to have someone decipher, this is what I did. Now, it doesn't mean that's the only answer, but just it makes it a little bit easier. So if you're out there and you're feeling stuck, or you're out there and you're feeling afraid, don't hesitate to try to connect with someone to be a mentor, because they can illuminate the path a little bit better and make your trip a little bit easier.
So Terra, tell us about the worst moment in business and what was the takeaway. We're going to switch into risk and failures. What was that worst moment in business for you and what was your takeaway?
Sure. For me, I had been working on that I was planning, and I had to cancel it because the registrations were not at the place that I wanted them to be. And it was hard. I was, losing money on my deposits. I had speakers that I had engaged that I now had to go back and say, no, we're not going to have this. Now, I was worried about the reputational effects, the financial effects, the penalties for canceling. All of that was not the best couple of days, I have to admit. It taught me a couple of things. The first one is that everyone fears their first big failure. And what runs through your head is, oh my goodness, I'm going to fail, I'm going to lose my reputation, everything goes up in smoke. And going through that process, what I recognize and what I now know is that when you do the important work of providing value to people, of being authentic to people, of building relationships slowly, that when you run into a hiccup, there's no way that you're going to destroy years of value that you created. So stop being afraid of it. But it does mean that you need to build that value over years, and that gives you some air cover when there is a hiccup. Just knowing that I can bounce back is one of those really powerful lessons that I'm not sure there's any other good way to learn it. But the second thing for me was I had definitely read about and understood the challenges of growing too fast. You see this in case studies of companies that they get these great orders, but they can't fill them fast enough. So in my mind, I had relegated that challenge to manufacturing, and to realize that I was facing constraints in my business because of the resources that we had, and that's myself, my virtual assistant and some of the team I subcontract out to, there is still a limit to what you can do. There are 24 hours in every day, and when the clock turns over, you can't get them hours back. And so I had to start to really look at how I had grown and start to be strategic about how I wanted to grow so that I can deliver what I wanted to create in this world.
So, Terra, I want to ask you, if you conducted this interview, what is the one question that you wish I would have asked you? And I would like you to answer that question.
Oh, wow. That's really... I think that the question that I would use is actually the one that I get all the time. Everyone who is thinking about getting into entrepreneurship at some point slides over to me and whispers, how did you make your first sale? Because there's, in general, a fear of the selling process for most people, not everyone. And at the time, I was working with this really great coach. And what he knew about me was that I would business plan myself to death. I would keep preparing and researching and not actually get into motion. And so he forbade me to write a business plan. And instead, he sent me into what was a Kinko's at that time to make my own business card at the computers at Kinko's. And then pick up the phone and call 10 people that I knew to say, this is what I do. Do you know anyone that can use this? And I just started having lunches and handing out business cards. And I got my very first gig. It was for $150 to ghost write an article. And an entrepreneur was born.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that story. We're going to move into the fun facts. It's lightning round, and I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I want very quick answers. And you do have the ability to say, Terra, pass, if you choose not to have an answer or want to answer. Okay?
Okay.
You ready?
Sounds fun, yeah.
The last movie you saw?
Oh, Get Out by Jordan Peele. Amazing movie.
You relax doing what?
Mindless television. Just old sitcoms and crazy horror TV shows.
Your favorite singer or rapper?
Pass. I don't think I have one anymore.
Your favorite dance song?
Dougie Fresh, The Show. Whenever that comes on, I have to get on the dance floor.
And what food you eat every week, no matter what?
Absolutely nothing. I crave variety. Nothing at all.
Okay. And your favorite month?
So normally it's May, because that's when you're really in the throes of springtime. Except I'm looking out my window and it's May for those who may be listening to this later. And the weather is terrible, but I still stand by it. May gives me flowers.
Okay. And so it is May. We are in May, which is beautiful. And so it's 90 degrees in Vegas. So it has definitely brought us lots of flowers. So it holds true to your May.
Yes.
So thank you for participating in the lightning round. Thank you so much, Terra, for participating on Black Entrepreneur Experience. In closing, what is the best way for our audience to connect with you?
And I would say, please connect with me. I love meeting new people. That's part of why I got into this business that I'm in. So you can find me on Twitter at Terra Winston. I'm not very creative. So that's TerraWinston at Terra Winston. I'm also the same me on Facebook and LinkedIn. So wherever you want to find me, or stop by my webpage. And the webpage is Interactions. INTERRAPPIONS. Interactions. But come say hi, leave me a message, tell me what your favorite singer is, since I don't have one. We'd love to connect with you.
Terra, thank you so much. We appreciate you, and let us know how we can support your business.
My pleasure. Thank you for doing this.
That's a wrap.
Thank you for listening and subscribing to Black Entrepreneur Experience. We would love for you to leave a review and rating on iTunes and share with your friends. For show notes and more episodes, go to www.beepodcast.com. Join us next Wednesday, and remember, green is the new black. So keep your bank accounts and your business in the black.